Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Truth About Marketing. I got my good friend here. He's the founder and president of Social Hustle. Dalin, thanks for jumping on with me, man.
Yeah, for sure, man. Thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. So, we start all these before we get into anything. We do a quick hot seat. It's like 7, 8 questions, just quick fire answers. There's no right or wrong. If you're good with it, we'll start with that.
Yeah, let's run it.
Awesome. So, your favorite business or marketing technology?
I'll go with marketing technology, and I would say Pixis is the company that just acquired Social Hustle last year. It's an amazing marketing technology, so I got to go with Pixis.
Awesome. Favorite social channel?
I hate to say this, to be honest. I never would have thought I would say this, but I got to say TikTok.
Interesting. Interesting. All right, we'll dig into that. Least favorite social channel?
TikTok as well. Gotta say
It's a
TikTok.
love hate thing.
Love it for sure.
All right, brand that you love.
Brand that I love, I'll say Kith because the collaborations that Kith have. I'm gonna go with Kith. I have like some tailor-made Kith stuff, which combined a couple worlds that I love. So Kith.
Very good. And then brands that are a brand that needs help.
A brand that needs help. I would say this might be surprising because it's like $1 billion brand, but I would say the Jordan brand as someone who like loved the Jordan shoes way back when, and now for there's like I feel like the Jordan brand has fallen off. It's now Travis Scott and Nike Dunks and all these other things. Like I feel like the Jordan brand and some I've talked with my business partner could use some
Very
younger
interesting. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Favorite influencer or business leader?
favorite influencer or business leader. Recently I've been really tapped in with like Devin Levesque, that guy that's he's into a whole bunch of wellness stuff. He's the guy that bear crawled a marathon. I just think it's dope how like young he is and some of the stuff that he has managed to do while just being himself.
Okay,
Swaggy dude.
nice. And brand or person you'd like to work with the most?
Maybe I hate to give two the same answers to two questions, but the Jordan brand, I mean, it'd be sick. Like I'm 34 and like grew up just wanting Jordans all the time, and to see that they can maybe use some help, like it would be sweet to work with Jordan brand.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. All right, well, why don't you go ahead and give us a little background, kind of, who you are, where you came from, and how you ended up where you are today.
Sweet. So I'll try and give like the shortest version of this. I will say so. I grew up in Idaho. I grew up on a farm in Idaho. My guy was the rodeo kid. We have race horses, and goats and chickens and cows and pigs. Like you could not have grown up more country than me. Went to high school, Rigby High School, played basketball, football. Like did like the athletic stuff. Certainly in high school, you feel like it's the only thing that really matters. I just remember being like, I can't wait to be like a senior in high school, and you think you have like life figured out, and then in high school, you're like, man, I have no fucking idea what's going on here. I went to college for maybe like 5 weeks after high school, and I wrote out, I'll never forget, and it's something I don't know why I did this or like how I came up with this, but I wrote out like I just saw the people in high school or in college and like where things were headed and like the life, like it's like choose your life basically. Do you want to be a dentist? And you want to be, like what do you want to go into? And I was like, none of these things really complement how I would like to live my day or live my life. And so like in the basement of my parents' house, I wrote out like what does a perfect day look like for me? And I try to be like reasonable because a perfect day for most people is like, I'm just hanging out on the beach, not doing anything, drinking a Mai Tai. And for me, I was like, you got to be reasonable because you got to make money. And for me, a perfect day was being able to do whatever I wanted. So eventually, if
Yep.
if it's a homie that want to hang out or a friend, one of my kids that I don't have yet, but a kid that I need to like take to soccer practice or take to school, I want to have freedom to be able to do whatever I want. And this was back in 2009, where remote work was not really as prevalent as it is today.
Yep.
And so it was much more of a this is crazy that you would just think that you could just work from wherever and do whatever and be able to make a lifestyle. And so I was, I kind of designed my day, and it was really surrounded around having freedom. And I thought that, being able to have like a laptop job basically would allow me to do that. I looked a little bit into like careers around that, that premise, and kind of stumbled into marketing. There was a job in my hometown of like Idaho Falls, Idaho, where it was cold call marketing sales, and I was like, if I could go get a sales job at this marketing agency, I could figure it out, and then I could go start my own marketing agency and just work from wherever in the world. Like if that ended up being true, like I have no idea when I was 18 why like I believed in the way, but I was like I could do that. And so took that job. Ended up just like a year or two later, this person I met at a bonfire in Idaho posted on Facebook that he had a job in California and he had an extra room. And so anybody want to move to California? So I moved to California just off a whim with him, sold everything I had, moved to California. I ended up, while I was in California, getting a job at a software company that was, hiring for a digital marketing manager. And I was wildly unexperienced and under, like there's no way I should have got this job. I shouldn't have even been interviewed for this job. But I knew the guy. He had called into the marketing agency that I was doing sales at in Idaho looking for a marketing agency. I had impressed him just with the speed of which I was doing things and trying to help them out, which is again another wild fact because I had no idea what I was doing at this marketing agency. I was just trying to like hustle. And
Yep.
when I mentioned to him that I moved out to California, he was like, "No way, you're like in kind of in my neighborhood." So we went out to dinner and he says he's looking for a digital marketing manager. You're supposed to have a 2-year college degree or experience to even work at this
Right.
the software company, which I didn't have. I even wrote like it was in San Mateo, California, which is in the Bay Area, and I wrote
Where I'm
San
from.
Diego. My
Yeah.
intention is to work in San Diego. I like miswrote this thing on the resume that I turned in. Green that I was, and I remember being in there, the HR officer, like, you realize you have to be working in San Mateo, and I was like, oh yeah, like my bad, and I didn't even, as a kid from Idaho, I couldn't even tell you like where they were, the difference on the map, but I knew I
Right.
wasn't in San Diego, so like literally just like stumbled my way into this marketing job with the software company just off of like hard work, really, and like just trying to like make it. And I knew that I needed that experience. This was like a 300-person company, and I knew like my parents are entrepreneurs, but like construction and things and real estate and things of that nature. And I had no college degree. I had never been around big business. I knew there was a lot of money and technology in
Right.
in the Bay Area. I knew that I didn't really know shit, and so I'm like, I need to get in on one of these big companies. Ended up, just through luck, getting in with this company. Kent Kilmer was my CEO, my boss of that company. I owe that life to that guy. He was a mentor for me, still is to this day, somebody that I think saw my potential, and he knew that I was underexperienced and probably shouldn't work there, but like gave me a shot, and ended up working there for 4 or 5 years. Started Social Hustle towards the tail end of that. Eventually left Arena to go full time on Social Hustle. That was around 2015, 2016. Here we are, like almost 11 years later, 10 years later, and made the Inc. 5000 last year just off of some shit that I wrote out when I was 18, wanting to be able to have freedom in my day.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I mean, you can see the ink plaque back there. So super cool. And myself, like growing my whole career in tech, I know how important. And again, people are like, oh, 5,000 companies. There's 5,000 companies in an individual city, brother. So the idea that you're one of the 5,000 in the country is just super impressive. But talk a little bit about, what drew you into that, or how you even, I mean, you talked a little bit about like wanting the remote job, but then there's so many things, especially, I mean, it's evolved now that where almost everything you can do remote, but growing into that digital marketing role and then really learning, I guess, to love it and be good at it, right? What was that like?
Yeah, so I will say originally, like, marketing was first introduced to me. First, my parents being entrepreneurs, like I had an understanding of marketing, but also I took a sports marketing class like my junior year of high school, and how you could be. I had a dream like long, long time ago, like being a sports marketer for the Lakers, because I thought like, how cool would it be to have these partnerships between these cool companies and the Lakers,
Right.
and like, like that world of sports and business has always interested me. And so like that was kind of maybe the very first like idea that I had of marketing. Second, I would say like I am an entrepreneur to the bone. Like I got, you may remember, and some of the people watching this may remember like LimeWire way back in the day. Like
Oh yeah.
I got suspended in like sixth, seventh, eighth grade something for like I would take people's orders at school, what songs they wanted, what kind of visuals they wanted me to like. I had this CD label maker that would like make a label on top of it. I'd put the track list and who it was from. So I'd
Yep.
take orders, I would go home, download the music, make CDs, bring them back, and like be passing them out in the hallways in like middle school.
Buddy,
uh,
I literally got detention for doing the same thing, but I was before your time was with Napster. I
yeah,
literally would go create a mixed CD and I'd sell it to the kids at my school for like $15, $16. But all there was back then was like you'd buy like, a Kid Rock CD and you'd only have those songs. So the idea that my mom had, was in tech or whatever, had a computer, could burn CDs and give them the songs that they only wanted. Like everybody loved it. And then I went to a private school. They found out, got detention.
yeah. And I like, to be honest with you, I was so like green, like I didn't even realize that was the problem. I'm like, why can I not download these songs off the internet? Like, it's on the internet. Like, why can't I just download these songs? Like this seems just like business to me. So like that, but that itch, that urge to like start, like being an entrepreneur and like want to start businesses and do things can sometimes be detrimental for entrepreneurs, because you will spend a month or 2 or 3 months just like fired up on something, ready to go, and then another like shiny thing will appear to you, and you
Yep.
will then this other thing, and you'll jump over this other thing. And so being in marketing has allowed me to, and running Social Hustle has allowed me to be involved with all these different businesses, and has like, I feel like I'm part of those businesses, and it has prevented me from just like going haywire trying to start new businesses all the time. Like I'm sure you get it, Colin, you probably met people just like they're always got the next big thing, this new thing
Yeah.
they're working on it. And it's like, man, that last idea was pretty good. You should have spent more than 17
Right.
minutes before you like moved on to your next thing. And so like I'm thankful that I'm able to like scratch that entrepreneurial itch and like help people. Like we have brands that are doing $500 million a year in revenue, and we have like mom and pop shops that will call us up looking for
Yeah.
help. And like I honestly am I'm more passionate almost, I hate to say it, just around those smaller brands, those people with dreams, those people that are trying to like build something out of nothing. And it's, a pair of brothers or a family or a mom and a dad. Like that to me is like true entrepreneurship. And man, I just like get off on helping those type of people. I nerd out on just being able to give them the right advice. And I feel like I'm a part of their business, which is, like I'm so thankful for with Social Hustle. So that truly is how I got started and why I really just fell in love with it.
Yeah, so there are a couple things that you touched on there that I think are really important, and us both having a similar background, right? As far as, working in-house, working agencies, I found, for me at least, like early in my career, I was working for a PR agency, and I would get in and I'd start like making real good headway with a client, right? Get them in TechCrunch, get them in Forbes, and like then it was like, oh damn, now I got to take my attention and go over to this other client, right? So that was really hard for me, like especially early in my career. So I ended up, leaving that agency and going and working for a company that hired me in-house, was one of my clients, and I worked for them. And I found that being able to really dive in and go like balls to the wall for that company was awesome. But then, just like you just said, my entrepreneurial spirit, where it was like, you get burnout, you're talking about the same thing, like, and then, ooh, shiny object over here, right? I spent 8 years with that company and, pushing to the limit. They just had an exit the other day, literally 1.4 billion, I think was the close number or something like that. And the idea is that then when I was in-house, got that entrepreneurial aspect and then got back out, and now running my own marketing agency is like now scratching that itch. But here I am, doing the podcast, doing, my partnership gig in New York, and the agency. There's lots of stuff, right? But talk a little bit about what that really means in terms of, again, you went from a thing where you're dedicated and you're focusing on one business to focusing on many.
Yeah, it's you definitely have to, and so like I think it's different, obviously, depending on your role within your business. So with Social Hustle, I'm a sales guy. I'm a relationship developer. I will, meet someone, generate some sort of lead, develop a relationship that turns into business for Social Hustle. And in most cases, once they become a client of ours, they're handed off onto our implementation team, and then I basically just get the highlights throughout time, right? I'm never, even when we bring on a client, I'm never like working on that client per se. Like it's weird. I founded a marketing agency, but I'm not a marketing guy in the sense of I don't log into our Google Ads accounts and make changes, right? Like I'm not doing the technical work. Like I've got a fair bit of knowledge around it, and I could probably like go in there enough to be dangerous. But at the same time, like I am more of a business builder, more of a relationship guy. I'm here for like the dreamers. I'm here for anyone that wants to work hard enough towards their dream. Like I'm your best friend. I will like I'll be there to like call you out on your bullshit, and I'll be there to like support you on the real shit. And so like for the most part, I've never gotten the chance, other than like, our biggest clients that have continued to grow and grow and grow. And it's really cool to talk about their story. Like I'll use GLD as one of like the highlights.
Yeah.
Like they are, I think I have a GLD box. Like this is a GLD box back here. There's some custom shoes that we made from as a gift. But when they first came to us, the founder of GLD was a photographer for Wiz Khalifa. I'm a Wiz Khalifa fan. I kept seeing his little watermark in the photo. So I go follow his Instagram. His name's Dan Folger. And I see that he's got these packages. It's the true entrepreneur thing of like, he's got packages in the trunk of his car of like, business is booming type shit, and he's like sending out like 9 packages to people. And like, I was like, yo, I'm going to start a marketing agency, and I knew for sure as soon as had gotten enough experience at Arena was the name of the software company that I worked at. As soon as I had enough experience and I had met the people that I wanted to kind of like become part of my team, that I was going to start this marketing agency. And the time just felt right. There was the individual who was managing Arena Solutions Google Ads, who I was managing. I managed all of our different agencies. His name is Christopher Perret, my business partner. Is like someone who's like still to this day is like someone that I owe everything to, and vice versa. He and I just like fed off each other. And he left a plush government job. I left a plush software company for this marketing agency that we both were just like, just going to sacrifice everything for our dreams. And so the time felt right. I knew Chris. I knew I wanted him to be my business partner. I hadn't even approached him yet. I see Dan, this guy that makes great creative, and he's super cool, and it's in like the hip hop industry. I didn't want to do marketing for like boring companies. I wanted to work with brands that I really, really liked and enjoyed and was passionate behind. And so I see Dan starting this jewelry company. He's selling shit out of the trunk of his car. He's from Pittsburgh. And I messaged him and I'm like, hey, me and my business partner, who like doesn't even know he's my business partner yet, but we're like, we're starting this digital marketing agency. We, we want to take on brands just like you. And like, we should chat about, doing some marketing for you. And then I messaged Chris and I'm like, yo, I know we've never chatted about this, but like, I'm like, hey, you have some time to talk? And I had to like step outside of arena, like literally physically leave the building and go chat with Chris and outside because he and I were just working on this company together. And I'm like, hey man, I've got this up and coming jewelry company that is, it's a guy that works with Wiz Khalifa. It's this big opportunity. Do you want to kind of, join on and start a marketing agency with me? So like on both sides, I'm like almost falsifying the story here a little bit to get people pumped of like, Dan thinks
Fake it till you make it.
Chris thinks that I've got this big client that needs some help. And so luckily they both say yes. So that was our very first client at Social Hustle. GLD is still a client to this day. They do hundreds of millions of dollars a year in revenue. They're the official partner of the NBA, the NFL, the MLB, Disney. Like you want a Marvel pendant, you want a Lakers pendant, Dallas Cowboys pendant, New York Yankees pendant, like you get it from GLD.
Yeah.
They're like,
I have a Niners one.
Yeah, so like even you have a product line. Every time I tell the story, people are like, no way. They're like, this is a GLD chain right here. And it's because
exactly.
We're like the first to come with this. Now that you got a few others, you got Jackson and like a few of these other brands that come up into the space, but like they were the originators. They have like, I used to love going to Las Vegas because I would go up in the club in Las Vegas and like literally 90% of the people there were rocking GLD chains. And I'd be like, yo, where'd you get your
That's
chain?
awesome.
I'd hit them with a discount code. And like, that was just something that's just like still to this day, it's just crazy that we're able to like be a part of that. And like the true American dream to see someone come up from like selling jewelry in the trunk of their car to like now, being partnered with like major enterprises. And Dan's exited. Dan like, doesn't even have anything to do with GLD anymore. He's like, lives in Las Vegas, lives dreams, got his girl, like off social media, loves just going out into like, he rides his cam and shoots in the desert. And like, I'm just so like, not jealous, but happy for like literally the way that he was able to come up and then just like escape that and just live his life.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's super cool to like be a part of something like that. Again, I mean, different scale, but being in tech, like when I started with Ignite, the company that I was with for 8 years, like I was like one of the first 100 employees. And by the time they exited now, again, assuming, I don't know the numbers for sure, but it's like give or take, they're doing 200 plus million in revenue a year. Like there's, almost 1,000 employees globally. Like it's just, it's incredible to be a part of something like that. And again, though, as cool as that is, right? There's the stories that I get just as fulfilled or heartwarmed by being part of somebody's small business or seeing somebody go from, again, we've had clients with our marketing company where it's like, they were just little guys just trying to get off the ground. And then they almost outgrew us to the point that like, they need boots on the ground. They need somebody doing content all day, every day, and like need in-house people. So that's super cool too. Is there anything that like stands out from a small business perspective that you're really proud of?
Yeah, actually. So Super T Trucking company out of Idaho, somebody from my hometown, Rigby, Idaho. Like this was like a 3,000 person town. Like everybody. When I go back home, I can't go to the gas station or like we've got like a Wendy's and a Subway. Like everyone was pumped when Wendy's came to town because we had like another option to eat. And so like I can't go back home without seeing anyone. So like that's the scale of the town that I grew up in. And there's an individual who's a little older than me, maybe 10 years older than me. His name's Heath Treasure. He used to be doing construction inside of inside of Rigby. It's a pretty booming real estate market in Southeast Idaho. Like a lot of people move out there. Beautiful place to live. Once you want to retire, and so construction real estate's pretty big out there. He made a whole bunch of money in construction, lost it in 2008, 2009 when the economy took a downturn. Started a trucking company and used to share a shop. My brother-in-law's grandpa's shop. This is definitely a Rigby, Idaho story. Shared a shop with his very first truck. And I'll fast forward and make it short and sweet. He reached out to us to help him with his marketing. Once we got to like 10 or 15 trucks, we built him a website. Went back when they were like super small. Helped him. Like I literally taught the sales guys what a CRM is back in the day. And Super T in we're 2025. Super T in 2022 sold to Red Bull. Red Bull purchased Super T. He ended up being like 300 truck line. Red Bull purchased this truck line to be able to control the logistics of their product on the West Coast. So like was extremely mom and pop. I literally had to help implement a CRM for this company. They didn't even know what was going on, but like he's a super sharp dude and grew this company to the point where they exited. He even started a few ancillary businesses around trucking, like a trailer sales company, a trailer maintenance and repair company that all still operate, on the West Coast. One truck sharing a shop somewhere. So this guy sold to Red Bull and he's got a jet. got a helicopter, lives a dream, amazing guy, amazing individual that would just like wants to help out everybody, and is the non-typical e-commerce scaling to big business route, but still like, I mean, there's days, and you know this, like with some of the smaller businesses, like you're putting in more than you get out. Like you're literally, like, it was not my goal to teach them how to use a CRM, but I was like, we need this client, and if the sales
Right.
guys use a CRM, then they're going to end up firing Social Hustle because our marketing is not actually going to work. So
Right.
like we go head over, like just bend over backwards for this type of company to try and make sure that they can figure it out and we would have success. To then like, Heath one time called me up and he's like, "Hey, I bought tickets to the McGregor fight in Las Vegas. We're leaving in like a week." And I was like, "No way!" And so that's when I found out he had a jet. He like tells me we're meeting at Idaho Falls Airport, and then he drops this pin and it's at some hangars, like not actually at Idaho Falls Airport. And I pull up and
Ready to go to the commercial airport.
He's got and he's got a jet, and like like talks really to his humbleness of like, I didn't even know that he had all of this stuff. He was like keeping it on the down low, and then also just talks to his like his like, it was just a blessing to know him, and he thought the same about me and Social Hustle, and like it's just come full circle. And he and I now are invest in other companies together, and truly somebody that just came from built everything from the ground up.
That's awesome, bro. That's really, really cool. And then you talked a little bit about with having a business partner, and I think it's insanely important for people to understand that like you need to accept, like know what you don't know, right? And like that's where you said it yourself, like you owned or founded and president of a digital marketing company. Like I'm the same, right? A co-founder, but like I have a business partner in Christian Absher that he is an absolute genius when it comes to back end, building a website, SEO, on page, off page, Google My Business, all that kind of stuff. Now, again, can I navigate my way around it? Absolutely. But he's the genius of that part of our operation. Whereas for me, I'm just like you. I'm on the sales side, the relationships, looking at overall brand strategy, like where do we fit in the marketplace, go to market, that kind of stuff, right? So talk a little bit about like how important that is, because of course I can do it, but for you at Social Hustle, like how important was that for you guys to be able to have that kind of yin and yang relationship and really take the business where it needed to go?
Dude, absolutely critical. The yin and yang thing is something I've used all the time. Like Chris and I are like best friends, but nothing alike. Chris he's literally, it's the right brain, left brain thing. And
Yep.
maybe to provide some value to some of the individuals or people that might be looking at this is like, there will be times in the business where the workload and the pay is lopsided, right? Like as the sales guy, like I'm the one that founded Social Hustle. So when I brought Chris on, Chris had 30%, I had 70%. But when I sold our first client, Chris was doing 80% of the work and I'm doing 20% of the work, but I'm making 70% of the money and Chris is making 30% of the money. And like I'm extremely grateful and thankful for Chris for seeing like the long-term vision, because there was a point in time where it was like, dude, this is not worth it for me, Dalin. I'm doing everything and you're doing nothing. And I see at Coachella right now, like,
yep.
What's happening here? And I think a lot of businesses like really lose it at the first, because you will have somewhat of a lopsided relationship. There will not always be times when, it depends on if you're 50-50 or how the relationship is spread. Like there will not always be times when like the money and the work are spread evenly. And most people will, at that point in time, you get salty, you get pissed. Like I just had very open and frank conversations with Chris. I'm like, dude, we're trying to take this thing to where we sell it eventually for $10 million. And like, don't get lost right now on this one client that we're a little bit of lopsided. Slowly I would, and certainly I was like very giving with Chris early on of like, being thankful and helping out with things and like, things of that nature. But I couldn't have done it without him. And then I can think of quite a few other people of like, I think of a business much like a sports team. And like, I've given a presentation to some of my business partners at Social Hustle to help us at times when we were slightly lost. And I used the 98 Chicago Bulls because one of my favorite teams. And I was like, like if Dennis Rodman started trying to be the passer and facilitate scores, they don't win the way that they won. If Scottie Pippen is not the facilitator the way that he was, like it is not like Michael Jordan. Sure, he gets all the praise, and sure, was he one of the greatest ever, if not the greatest ever, depending on who you're talking to. Yeah, but like don't get it twisted. Like without Pippen, Rodman, like without these ancillary players that were the best within their role, like most people that are non-sports fans could not tell you who Dennis Rodman is. I'll tell you, he was a defensive and a rebounding fucking menace. And like Michael would not have gotten as many shot opportunities if Rodman wasn't that way. And so like a team, sports are the ultimate example of how everyone has got to stay in their lane. And sometimes early on in business where everyone has to help out, unlike sports, that can cause you to not get to the level that you want to get to when you can't finally shift into like where you really should be. And so like Sure,
Yep.
like you can do it by yourself. I'm someone that's like, you know, delusionally confident in myself. You know, on one hand, I say I couldn't get here without you. On the other hand, I would say I can do whatever I want by myself. But it sure is a fucking lot easier when you have people around you that can help, and you're certainly going to make more. You know, I would rather have, you
Absolutely.
know, 10% of 200 million than 100% of 5 million.
That's something I say all the time. It's like, listen, I would rather have 20% of 100 million bucks than have 10, 50% of 10 million, right? Like it's just one of those things that you'd rather, and it's all numbers. It's all, the idea that you got to have short, big, long term, goals, right? They're all different. But at the end of the day, at least for me, like, look, in certain instances, you're going to be that big fish. You're going to be the guy, right? Whether it's like a BNI group or a startup club, like people who are looking to you for answers. But then I have my own goals and my own people that I'm the little guy, right? Like, again, you pointed out your buddy that has a jet and does this and that. I would love to be that guy one day, but you have to understand like where you fit in and then figure out how to get where you're going, right? So I think that's
100%.
really important, setting realistic goals, but also still being humble enough to, help people along the way and be the big fish in other little situations.
Yeah, yeah. So there's another individual I got to shout out, and it's Chris's little brother. His name's Christian, and he's a creative. He's our creative director, but just a creative mastermind. He's almost like Chris and his brother are like left and right brain. It's crazy how like they're best friends, but so much unalike. Like Christian and I
Yeah.
have so much in common on the creative side, and Chris and I have so much in common, but not even from the way that we think perspective. But like Christian, for example, like he was running like there was it's been so long since I've been in Idaho forgetting it, but there is harvest season within Idaho where the spuds need it's called Rogan potatoes, where you're out there and you're making sure that a potato is like not shitty and you're tossing it if it's bad and you're throwing it into the trailer if it's good. And Christian came in, he's like, dude, I want to work in social hustle, and like he was somebody that like there's no real reason why on paper we should have like hired this individual, but I
Right.
could see that he wanted it. I could see his skills, from the brief amount of time that I've worked with him, and now like to this day, I'd be like, man, like without Christian, we wouldn't have even been able to get here. Like his creative genius, his ability with the website development and stuff that we have done, and like the way he's been able to facilitate some of like he has now worked with some of our largest private equity firms and maintains that relationship. And it's just this like Rico Suave guy. He goes to New York and he's all like he's like to me, I'm a streetwear guy. Christian is the like Louis Vuitton
Buttoned
scarf,
up. Yeah.
ALD clothing, and is like super fancy. It looks like he's from some billion-dollar family. And like just another example of just like, man, there was so many times where like we would have just been stalled at a certain point if we didn't have individuals like Christian or one of my best friends, John, that has like worked at Social Hustle forever and has helped us out with things. Like the list goes on and on of just there's times throughout my life where I'm like, man, if we didn't have him on the team or her on the team,
Yeah.
like, what would we even
And
do?
so talk about that a little bit too, like building a team. Cause like, I mean, there's people, everybody kind of approaches it differently, but in my experience, I've always been a guy that's like, you hire the person, not the skill set, right? Like I founded a marketing company. I've spent 10 plus years in Silicon Valley and doing marketing and doing things. Like I can teach people to do things, but I can't teach the person to be the person that I need them to be, or to be the hustler, or to be the person that wants to learn and wants to be a team player and wants to. So talk a little bit about building that. Cause obviously again, like, you built up Social Hustle, you turned it into a, 7-figure plus business. Like, what was it like building that up, and what do you look for in people?
Man, honestly, like I would say that is probably like just having that sort of emotional intelligence around building a team is probably like the single greatest thing that I've been able to bring to Social Hustle and like the people around me is assembling a team. And I could give you more instances where we hired someone who was unqualified than I could give you instances that we've hired someone who's qualified.
Yeah.
It's because it is just like you said, you can teach people most things, like you can't coach heart or whatever, to give another sports phrase. Like it is just like I just want good, honest, transparent people around me that like have a dream, that are not just going through the motions, that are like down
Right.
to like when you say some crazy shit and they're like, dude, that's crazy, but I'll get in with you. Like let's do this. Because at
Let's
first,
do it.
like I was like, I'm trying to sell everybody my dream. And it slowly became all of these other individuals' dreams. And I could not be more proud of like how many people we were able to keep for so long. Like the list of people that have quit Social Hustle, I could count on like one hand. I count on less than one hand. But the list of people that have moved on to bigger and greater things because we were just like a stepping stone for them in their life. Like there's an individual named Chase who came to Social Hustle. I met him in a bar. I used to make clothes for Social Hustle, just like one-off stuff that I thought was swaggy. And I had this shirt that said Social Hustle on the neck. And he was like, dude, where'd you get that shirt? I want to buy that shirt. And Chase at this point in time was like working at like COVID testing sites. Like he was like definitely not any sort of marketing individual whatsoever. And I was like, dude, this is a one of one. Like you can't buy this shirt. And he's like, well, what's Social Hustle? What's this marketing agency? He ended up working at Social Hustle for 3-4 years, has now went off and started his own SEO agency. Like I'll call it the breakup was totally like everyone was fine with it. It was like, and I can't be happier when somebody comes and is like, man, thank you for everything you've taught me. Now I'm going to go do my own thing. I don't have this like saltiness around somebody that has gone and, to bigger and better things. And so it's certainly like building a team is actually absolutely crucial. I think employers in general, companies are too cheap with hiring people. You're hiring someone that can come help you make an extra $1 million a year. And you're like, should we pay them $75,000 or $85,000 a year?
Yeah.
It's like, like pay them what they need, pay them what it's worth, pay them for them to be able to live a life that they love. And they will come to work on Monday fired up. And they're going to give you way more than that person that is just like constantly on Glassdoor, like looking for some sort of other job. So like, it's easy to say as a company that's, we're just under like 30 employees. It's very easy to like keep and maintain a culture when you're that size. Like it's much more difficult when you're 100, 500, 1,000, whatever. But like anyone will tell you that it's just like the culture of Social Hustle is just like the coolest place that they've ever been a part of. Ryan is one of our senior web developers that just went to American Express for like almost 50% more money than he had at Social Hustle.
Nice.
And he was like, I would almost rather still be at Social Hustle. He was literally like, I was almost in tears when Ryan moved on, because he's like, dude, there will just never be ever anything like this again in my life.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's something that I have thought, but I'm biased. Like this is my baby, and like to hear someone else be like just so sad about having to move on to the next chapter because of the culture and the lifestyle and like what we're able to bring their life is like, that just means we were doing things the right way. And like, that is probably the most meaningful thing to me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So talk about now, I mean, again, we've talked about like personnel and building the company from a business perspective, but then also, marketing is constantly evolving, right? Like, I mean, I talk about it that like in college, I was taking classes for communications and stuff that like, there wasn't even really social media. Like we were doing some project one time when I was a senior in college that was like, what's going to make it? Twitter, Cha-Cha, and some other bullshit. I think like Foursquare or something, right? And it's like, I went to college for that, right? And now it's all completely obsolete because there was no TikTok. Instagram wasn't even close to what it is today. Like, and now these are all like marketing channels and things. And again, you got email marketing and again, digital SEO, like all of that stuff. Shopify wasn't even close to, what it was. And now, like, I mean, as you built it up, like, what did you focus on as far as like services, products, offerings? Like, what was really like the impetus for you guys growing as big and as fast as you did?
First, I think I'm, maybe just blessed to be at the age that I am. And being from Idaho, I saw so many people like just stuck in their ways. It's almost like babies and children, they grow and they change so fast, in like a year, 18 months, like now they're talking, now they're walking, now they're like, but as soon as most people hit like 18, 20, 24, you get through education, then most people are just like froze at that point in time with their ideals and their points of views and who they are. And even just their self-identity of like what they're capable of. And like, so like to see that being in Idaho and like thinking that was regular, and then moving to the Bay Area at like 19 years old and being like, it felt like I had gone through a time machine and I was like 10 years ahead of like when I got in my truck and I drove to California. And then to meet people that were just like consistently evolving and changing their ways of thinking. And not only that, but like ways of thinking that challenged my ways of thinking that actually changed my opinion on things. I heard arguments on both sides. You go have a political conversation in San Francisco and you go have a political conversation in Idaho. And it's like, it's night and day. But like, if you're open to it, you can see both sides of the story and it suddenly becomes not so black and white. It suddenly becomes like, okay, wow, like there actually is some merit to what you're saying and there's some merit to what you're saying. And so like, I would say just being open to the fact, like at that point in time when I moved out there, I knew I didn't know shit. And like, I was literally trying to change my opinions on things. I was trying to grow, I was trying to change, and that like has not stopped. And so in the marketing world, instead of, some new software, some new idea comes out and being a naysayer of kind of like, well, no, like this is the way that we've always done things. Like, TikTok is something that we jumped on board immediately. And we're now like, Social Hustle is one of 9 agencies in the world that are part of the D2C roundtable of TikTok. We're actually giving feedback to TikTok on how to improve their ad platform. They help our clients make the most of their strategies. We can use case studies and examples that only TikTok can provide to us to help our clients do more. And like, it's because from day one, when this thing came out, we're like, damn, this could be the next big thing. We don't want to miss out on it. And at the end of the day, worst case scenario, we just decided to not do TikTok marketing rather than being like, damn, I wish we would have done that. And
Yep.
so we expanded. We originally started with just Google ads, for like e-commerce businesses. And then, through a lot of the success of GLD, started to build out other departments. We got into Meta ads, Facebook and Instagram. We now do TikTok ads. We're definitely a premier agency for brands that are trying to use all three of those. And then also we went through this phase where we were trying to do everything, and then we kind of shrunk back down to like the things that we do know and tried to partner with brands that really are great at it. So there's a company or an individual, Anna at Dalin Marketing. She is like amazing at Klaviyo and email SMS nurturing. And like that was something we did at one point in time, but we were like not the best. And now all of our biggest clients and brands we work with, I'm like, you need to talk to Anna. Like she's the one. It used to be something I was trying to like sell, and we weren't the best at it. And so now we just like stay in our lane. So those services that I mentioned, plus a little bit of SEO, marketing consultation, web dev, but like we stay with those core services. And I love when somebody calls us now and asks for something that we don't do, because I used to try and force it and make it work and be like, well, maybe we could do the content for this person.
Yep.
Or, maybe we could do this thing. And now I'm like, we don't do that. We're the best at this. I can hook you up with someone who does this. I've got a list of strategic partners that's a mile long that are like the people that I feel like are the best at what they do. And that has also been one of the core elements to be able to grow fast, because you stop wasting time, unprofitable time, on brands and services that are really not what you do the best. You're not even going to keep that client for very long. They're not going to give you referrals because you're shitty at what you're trying to do for them. And the opportunity
it hurts more than it helps.
Yeah, literally it hurts more than your health. Back in the day, you're like, okay, like let me just bend over backwards for this person and try and do something that we can't do and then figure it out. And in reality, you're like, you're hurting them, you're hurting yourself. And it's the opportunity cost of not staying focused on like the things that you're best at and staying in your lane. That is it's very intangible to know beforehand. But like now I'm like, man, we'd probably be twice the size if we weren't wasting the first 3 years just trying to do everything for everyone.
Well, and that's something I learned doing enterprise sales, right? It was like, there's an art to disqualifying deals, right? Everybody's trying to qualify deals. And it's like, dude, the better thing to be good at is to disqualify deals, to your exact point. I'm going to try to have a pipeline of 15 deals when realistically only 5 of them are good, right? Yeah. Well, instead of spreading my time across 15, why not focus and really crush it to make sure I close all 5 of these, right? Because I know we can help them. I know that it's worth it. I know that it's worth my time. And if I close all 5, but what typically happens in sales or, with sales cycles, you get these reps that get super, aggressive and they think they can close all 15. Well, then they only end up closing 2 of the 5 when they should have closed all 5. And it's like that method
closed them. Like they
yes,
like less than what it could have been anyways. What you just said is like, that was a heater, dude. Like, it took me way too long to figure that out. You want to have so many lines in the water. You always like, don't put your eggs in one basket. No, like put your eggs in as few baskets.
Put your eggs in
one basket. Like stop. Like, we do the same thing. Like you talk about the new reps. You have all this energy of like, I think I got 20 deals are going to close this month. Yep. Like, we can't even take on 20 new clients right now. So please tell me you don't have 20 deals to close. Like I really want you to like, you have 3 right here that seem like they're actually interested. They're qualified to work with us. It's a good fit for what we do. Yep. Stop emailing these other people and like make your presentation and the fit and like the offering as great as possible for these 3. And like everybody's going to be better off.
Yep. And you love the hustle and you love the kind of energy, but like, again, it's just something that has to be learned. And there's it's very much a skill to be able to do that, right? But talk a little bit about, I think what's really cool too, is you talked about like, certain platforms, certain services, certain things work for certain companies. I think what's interesting for me, at least what I've experienced, is like, we do get a lot of people that, the client comes in and they want to do it all. They want to spend, time on email, time on social, time on SEO, time on influencers, time on events, it's like, you don't even have the budget for all that. But what we would say is like, hey, I don't think that Meta is the best thing for you. I don't think that TikTok is the best thing for you. Let's double down on LinkedIn SEO and let's pick a few events that we think we can really make a splash at, right? That is an amazingly better strategy. So like, how did you, I guess, handle that as you guys started to evolve and see that happening in your own business?
Yeah. So first, I'll use, just very complimentary to what we were just saying, which is like, you can't do everything. You're not going to do anything good if you try and do everything.
Right.
You probably don't have, unless you're fucking, NetSuite, or you have, your Oracle and you've got like $1 billion to spend, then like, let's focus in. And I'll speak in generalities just because there is, different businesses, different budgets, different goals, but for the most part, it is much better to execute well on a channel, a couple channels, than it is to try and jump into everything. So there's like one statement I'll make. Second would be like, is your product or your service known? If it's not known, then you're going to be doing something different. Like if you're bringing something to the market that is new, it's innovative, and you need to like tell people that it's out there, that's much different than being a towing company that people are going to go to Google and search for because they're sitting on the side of the road and they need it right now. So there's that. Like, is your product known, or are we trying to educate the market that this exists and that this is an offering? I would say in most cases, I recommend like Google first for a lot of businesses. If it is known, just because there is your highest quality, low hanging fruit. But we got people right now going to the internet looking for you. They just don't know that it's you that has an offering. Let's make sure we cover our grounds there. Second to that, then you start to get into the social channels. I talked about how TikTok was like my least and my favorite social media channel. Is really just because like, still the Wild West out there. Like anybody's got a shot to go viral on TikTok. You know, like if you truly got some good stuff to say, you got something entertaining, you got a cool product, whatever it is, like you got a shot to blow up on TikTok. Anyone, you know, Chris, my business partner, like even though he runs marketing and, you know, paid social for like, you know, billion-dollar brands, this is not the organic social guy. You know, he's the right brain numbers guy at Social Hustle. He's put a couple of videos out that have just got like 1 million views because he's even more than that, just because it was valuable. It was interesting. It was like, you know, the first few hundred people, if you understand the TikTok algorithm, the first few hundred people that saw it, engaged with it and liked it, started to go out to a few hundred more, and then it just like it went crazy. And so like, I like TikTok for that reason for brands, because like if you've got a dream and you've got a phone, like TikTok gives you a shot. Not saying it's a good shot, but like it's a shot versus like Instagram is very tough to go viral on. Like you have to basically catch a police chase or, you know, something wild to like, you know, get millions of views on Instagram. So it's a little bit more difficult. So I like TikTok for like the dreamers, the up and coming people who may have something interesting. And then from there, I would say I almost look at it like top of the funnel, bottom of the funnel. You have Google Ads, which is bottom of the funnel traffic that's ready to convert. You just got to put them in the right way. You get to like Meta and Instagram. It's kind of like middle of the funnel. That's people that would consider and make a purchase on the social channel. TikTok, as described by TikTok themselves, is the discovery platform where you can put your shit out there and show it to the world and see what sticks. And then somewhere along the line, you still need to make sure you have that like nurturing email, SMS marketing to remind people. You know, a lot of times people will take too long to get into that. You know, someone will come to us, they've had 3,000 customers. They're looking for new customers. I'm like, yo, you've had 3,000 people that have purchased. You haven't sent a single email to anybody ever about, hey, like, come back and buy, or, you know, do you need your car detailed again? Like, so there's certainly you'll get to a point where like, stop trying to just find new people and just burning through these people that do business with you, but like start operating like a good business and offer some gift cards and do some nurturing and still trying to make the most out of your customer base. So certainly a general statement is tough to like, you know, just put out like what would be best for everyone in those cases. There's definitely an art, maybe is the best to it. There's definitely, the best way to put it is there definitely is an art to make sure that you don't just spend all your money and fail and then, you know, go back to your 9 to 5 because your business failed.
Well, what I would say and recommend too is like, again, we talked about the big fish, little fish, you know, being in a big pond, small pond, like depending on where you're at and what your business is trying to accomplish too. I think the other thing that happens is people try to run before they crawl, before they walk. Like it's like, listen, let's start with this platform. Let's prove it out here, or let's start with a couple things and make sure that we can do those well. And maybe they don't work, so we move to another thing, but trying to do and be everything to everyone is just a recipe for failure, right? Like
100%.
I don't care what business you are. Like, again, there's even in tech, right? There's certain channels that they crush it on LinkedIn, but their Instagram or TikTok or whatever, non-existent. Vice versa, they may crush it on TikTok, but be nowhere like anywhere else, right? So it just, again, to your point, you can't diagnose people on a general statement, but I think the consensus is like, don't try to be everything to everyone. And the whole idea that if you're marketing to everybody, you're marketing to nobody, right? Like that's just...
And be yourself. Like that goes along with like, don't be everyone. A lot of brands try and like, it's a small mom and pop shop and they come to us for some website development, some marketing. And they're like, you know, here's our big, huge corporate competitor across town. We want to look like them and do what they're doing, you know? And it's like, yo, like, there's a strength to just being who you are right now. And that may change over time. Like I'll use GLD as an example again. Like originally on the website, we had Dan and Christian, the original business partners, sitting on the hood of their car. Christian, we started this small company and, you know, we're here to make sure you get good products. And like, you know, here's our Instagram. And it was like a mom and pop shop. And now it's like, we use the logos of the NFL and the NBA. And we're like, yo, we're the world leader in this. And we have 24/7 customer service. We have lifetime guarantees. Like, don't go mess around with anyone else. Like use the biggest and the best.
Right.
And just being true and transparent to who you actually are. So like, don't try and go say things that you're not. Don't try and put on a facade and act like you're this big enterprise across town when it's like just you working on it late at night. Be like, yo, I'm down and I'm starting this marketing agency. It's just me and my business partner, Chris. We promise to give you the best customer service that we
Yep.
can. We're going to put our heart and soul to this. Versus now, Social Hustle is like, we're the Inc. 5000. We're in the Inc. 5000. We've worked with all these major brands. We take $50 million brands to 500 million. We're the best out. It's two totally different stories, but true at different times. And too many times businesses come to us and they're like trying to be someone that they're not. And like, you can't do that anymore. People can just smell that shit out. And like, you just seem fake.
Yeah, authenticity. Yeah, authenticity is everything. And I think too, I love quoting it, but like the Sun Tzu Art of War, right? It's like use your weaknesses as strength. So the example you just gave, it's like, listen, that big company over there, like when you're trying to get a hold of them or you have something wrong or you have a question and nobody gets back to you or you're talking to an AI bot just going in circles,
Yep.
like our company, we're still at the size where I can give you world-class like white glove service and you can be happy. Maybe you do spend a little more, but I'm going to be here to guarantee the product, guarantee the service. Like I'm using what would be considered a weakness as a strength. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't think enough people do that.
Yep. Here's my cell phone number versus chatting with an AI bot. And then when you get to the big company, you're like, yo, we have AI bots to give you answers as quick as possible. So like you can definitely eloquently argue both sides of it, but it literally is just like turning some of those perceived weaknesses into strengths. And it's just being yourself. It's authenticity.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think too, another one that we haven't talked much about is just like influence and like, again, leveraging networks and being able to just really, when you're being who you are, like there's such an authenticity value again of like having like-minded individuals or people, your community effectively is what we're talking about. I mean, I joke around with us, like we live here, you're actually like just down the hall, but our little golf cart gang, right? Like I had gotten one initially because I was like, I don't even need a car anymore. I live up at Kierland. It's nice. I can go wherever. And I've met some guys, the Valley Golf Cart guys, like I looked at golf carts all over the place, but they were the most genuine. They gave me like the best service, right? Like the guy was calling me, texting me, do you have any questions? How can I help? And that really influenced my purchase, which now we got a gang because now you got one.
Yeah, I'll never forget the first day I pulled in. Literally, it was like move-in day, and like I saw your red golf cart, and it hit me. I'm like, oh my god! Like I'm in a golf cart community. I could just cruise around in a golf cart. And I saw there's an older guy at like Culinary Dropout over here in Scottsdale Quarter, and like it was like supercar, and then this older guy smiling within his golf cart, and like I'm like, damn, like. He just looked so happy, and like he wasn't trying to. He was like the younger guys getting out of the Lambos and stuff, trying to like, be Rico Suave, trying to impress everyone as they're walking. And then this guy had flip flops. He had a red Solo cup. I guarantee there's booze in that thing. And he was loving life. He was being authentic. And I want to be like that guy. And I didn't even know it was your cart when you had one here. But I'm like, I want to be like Colin. He's literally got a golf cart parked in this garage. I'm like, he just cruises out of here and goes grabs a coffee and like whatever in the golf cart. And like that's a little bit of authenticity, and that's just being yourself, like that really it's something that I have learned as even for people that are not like you, respect you for being yourself. And like a big shift I've gone through in my life is realizing that like the Pokemon kids in high school were actually the fucking coolest guys in high school, and we didn't know it. Like didn't give a fuck that nobody liked Pokemon. They liked Pokemon, and they're down to like play the cards, even if like the cool dudes like, clown on them for trading Pokemon cards and weren't like playing sports, like this is just my own like shift that I've come through my own self. I'm kind of like, why don't you guys play football, And like, that's so cool that you guys were literally just did the things that you love and didn't care what everyone else thought about it. And like, now I'm not a Pokemon guy, but still, if you're passionate about something and like, that's your thing, regardless if it's cool or not, in society standards or whether like people think it's cool or not, like that's sick. The coolest guy in the bar to me is a guy that's just like abnormally weird because that's just himself. He's not.
Dude, it's crazy.
Like, he's just like being himself. I'm like, man, I want to be your friend.
And it's crazy you say that because like, dude, having the golf cart at first, right? People are like, you bought a golf cart? You just drive a golf cart. That's it. I'm like, yeah, man. Like the only few times that I do drive, like it's to a golf course or something so I could take an Uber. And then the other deal was if I'm like going out on the weekends or whatever, yeah, I'm usually having a cocktail or two or whatever. And so I'm taking an Uber anyway. So like, the golf cart was super practical for me and it was fun. Like, dude, you get people talking about it. They stop. You're like, oh, that thing's sick, right? But an even better story, which you were just talking about, Pokemon in high school, like, dude, same thing. Like all of our perceptions changed. When I was growing up in high school at St. Francis back in the Bay Area, like, dude, Griffin, who's now like a famous DJ all over the world, he was a grade below me in high school. And he was the AV guy. Like he played instruments, which again are not like super cool in high school, but did that, was always part of like the behind the scenes, doing the audio visuals and everything. And again, something you're like, okay, whatever, didn't think much of it. I wasn't super interested in it, but then lo and behold, like he had more experience and more just over the time from high school until, now he's blown up today. He had 20 years of doing that. And it was his passion. And he turned into an expert because while we were messing around, chasing girls, going to parties, playing football, which none of us play today, like, he turned it into a multi-million-dollar, very, very successful career, and he kills it. Like, shout out to Griff, dude. It's awesome to see what he's done. And again, was not like great friends with him or anything, but went to a small private high school. So like we all know each other and knew who each other were. Yeah. And it's just amazing to see that is what authenticity will do. And so when you talk about marketing, you talk about business, like staying true to who you are, staying true to your brand and what you love, I think is the golden ticket by far.
Yeah. 100%, man. Yeah, it's a cool story. Literally, like if he would have cared back in the day and tried to play sports, then he wouldn't be living out his dream right now. I'm assuming that it's his dream, but like, I mean, I'm like, I'm gonna play in the NBA, the NFL. I'm the cool dude, right, like playing sports. And like literally now, like my knees hurt too bad to like fucking play basketball at all, and like definitely not playing in the NFL. Didn't pay off whatsoever. And like maybe I actually love Pokemon, and this whole time I was like trying to be somebody that I wasn't, like quite literally. Yep. So it comes with society, and I think it's getting even worse for like the younger generation with like TikTok and all these social channels. But I do feel like to some degree people are becoming a little bit more who they are in general because you put your whole life out there, so it's kind of tougher to just like fake it. But at the same time, it's literally the key to life is just like not caring what other people think while also at the same time, like not doing things that affect other people. Kind of one of my mantras is just like, I want to be able to do whatever the fuck I want. I want everyone to be able to do whatever they want, as long as it doesn't negatively affect others.
Affect somebody else. Yep. Absolutely.
Just like anyone can just go get drunk in a preschool, but at the same time, like if you want to smoke weed and shoot guns back in your backyard, back up in the mountains, like do it. If you want to, like anything that's against societal norms, but it doesn't actually affect anyone else, it's like, what is the big fucking deal? Just like let these people be themselves.
Yep, absolutely. Well, is there anything else, coming up? Anything we should be on the lookout for? Like I said, I mean, you sold the business. You're still part of the business, obviously, but kind of what's next for you now?
What's next for me? So I am with John, who's been my best friend for a very long time. He and I are developing an app. I'm gonna probably try and keep most of this under wraps because I don't want someone to steal this idea, but it's essentially probably the easiest would be to it's good to help people like live out their dreams, kind of live out some like bucket list style shit. And then second to that would be there is a fitness brand that I am most likely going to become like an operating partner within. That is it's like elevation training, but within an open group space. So there's only one location in San Diego. One of my best friends opened it, but we have like essentially like open field, like doing this in America. And it's like you've seen people training in the masks, like Jake Paul trains with elevation masks.
Yep.
And like NFL players will wear them in the pre-games. But rather than having to wear the mask and be like restricted, it is literally an open air environment within a studio where you can do strength training and weightlifting and all of this shit. But it's like your body feels like you're at elevation. A lot of athletes and Olympic athletes and stuff like that they'll go train in Park City or go train in Denver to get up at elevation to like help get more out of their body and like train faster and become more efficient. Well, we've actually figured out a technology to be able to bring that into studios, into like right here in Scottsdale. Like I could put a unit here in my office and my body would think that I'm at like 12,000 feet, which has all these amazing health benefits, like red blood cell count, can reverse aging and help with like diabetes and things of that nature. But really, it can give you in like 30 minutes of working out what would take like 90 minutes at the gym. And so awesome. Like I'd say like the next big thing in fitness, because that's been overused for probably 100 years, but like literally something when my buddy brought this to me and he's been working on it for like 3, 4, 5 years is like, I'm like, man, dude, like you may really have something here. And so like he's asked me to join from like a sales and marketing perspective once the time is right, once I get through Social Hustle. And that probably is like the next big thing that's going to take up the most amount of my time, just introducing that to the States and beyond.
Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you jumping on. I think we got a lot of good stuff here. It was a pleasure talking with you as always. And for sure, we'll see you in the parking garage and in the golf cart for sure.
Man. Let's go squat up, take the golf carts down and flex in the
neighborhood. Let's do it. Next happy hour or something. All right, man. Well, I appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you later, man.